Hi, welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith. In this video, we're going to learn the 2 to 4 player game, Rampage, designed by Antoine Bauza and Ludovic Maublanc. There's really nothing like a city full of buildings and people to satisfy the cravings of gigantic, scaly-skinned monsters. So in this game, you and your fellow monsters will be competing to destroy the most buildings and devour the most hapless victims. So if you're ready to chomp down on some asphalt, join me at the table and let's learn how to play. First, push the 2 game board pieces together and notice that there's a smaller circular cutout here compared to the other 3. You need to line this up with the central piece, which also has a smaller circle here. This piece fits into place and it keeps the 2 boards from coming apart during the gameplay. And the central piece, along with these other rectangles and squares, make up what will become the ruins of the city. When you're setting up the game for the first time, all of the ruin pieces, except for the central one, come with an adhesive backing. This allows you to permanently stick them to the board, which also prevents them from moving around during the gameplay. A city needs residents. These multicolored people are known as meeples. And they don't just live here, they're going to help us build the buildings as well. So randomly draw and place one on each of the meeple outlines that you find on the ruined spaces. Now it's time to add some height to our buildings with these floor tiles, and they have both an exterior side and an interior side. So for the first floor, you'll probably want to put the interior side face up. After placing the first floor, all of the buildings except for the stadium are going to get built up even higher. Just like the ruins, the floors have outlines to remind you exactly where to place your randomly drawn meeples. Once these are placed, add another level of floors, another level of meeples, and the final exterior levels. Each building rooftop shows an outline for a single meeple, except for the stadium where you're going to place 4. These are the 4 vehicles of the game, and they start on the 4 drawings of them found throughout the city. So we have a news van, an army jeep, an ice cream truck, and a fire engine. Now each player collects a screen, along with the matching monster body and paws. Then add 4 monster teeth to these spaces. In each corner of the board, there's a circular outline. Place your paws on the one closest to you at the table, and then put your monster body on top. Shuffle the character, power, and super secret power cards into their own separate 3 decks. Then deal 1 card from each to each player, returning all undealt cards back to the box. These cards will provide your monster with unique and special abilities. Your character and power cards should be placed face up on the table so that everyone can see them, and ensure that everyone at the table understands how all of the different monster abilities work. Your super secret power, however, you keep face down. This is not something you have to reveal until you're ready to use it. We'll go over the different cards and how you read their effects a little bit later, but for now, let's take another quick look at these meeples. The first print run of Rampage came with the stickers that you see attached to My Meeples. So if you didn't get stickers, don't worry, it doesn't affect the gameplay, it's just for looks. The blue pieces are always journalists, green are soldiers, black are businessmen, yellow are blondes, gray are seniors, and red are heroes. The final step of the setup is putting out the runaway board. There's both an A and a B side. The players can choose which side they want to play with. We'll use the A side, but then we can talk about the differences a little bit later. Now before we go any further, let me take you on a quick tour of some important elements that make up the city. The entire game board is the city, and it's divided into neighborhoods by color. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 neighborhoods. Each building is completely surrounded by sidewalk, which is not considered part of any neighborhood. In Rampage, there are several ways to gain points. Devouring the floors of the various buildings, eating complete sets of the 6 different colored meeples, fighting other monsters and taking their teeth. And finally, your character card will provide you with specific ways your monster can get additional points. The player who does the most convincing monster imitation takes their turn first. Then in clockwise order, the next player takes their turn, and so on around the table. On your turn, you start by taking 2 of 4 available actions. So let's start by learning what those 4 actions are. The move action starts by picking your monster off its paws and then flicking the paw piece with your finger. Wherever it lands is where you've moved to. So place your monster back on its paws. It doesn't matter how the monster's facing or the direction of its feet. With a wild shot, you may end up with your paws in a place you can't put your monster. For example, wedged into a building. I don't know how I did that. In those cases, manually move your feet the least amount possible to get them in a place where you can place your monster. If your move action causes your paws to leave the board, then immediately lose a tooth, returning it to the box, and then place your paws on any empty starting position and continue your turn as normal. If your move action knocks your opponent's paws out of the city, then at the start of their next turn, they place their paws and monster in any available starting space and take their turn as normal. The next action is called Demolish, but you can only do this if your paws are touching some part of the sidewalk surrounding a building. So if our blue monster was right here, it wouldn't be able to take the Demolish action, but the green monster certainly can. So now, pick up your monster in your hand and hold it over any part of the building that you want. It doesn't have to be in the center, it doesn't have to be on the edge closest to your paws, but you do need to be in a seated position and your arm should be parallel with the table. Then, drop your monster. After enjoying the wreckage, put your monster back on its paws. Mine are stuck underneath this floor here, so I'm going to carefully bring it out as far as I need to be able to put the body back on top. If you happen to have terrible aim, and after dropping your monster, you completely miss the building, I've done this, then you lose a tooth and return it to the box. You can take the toss a vehicle action if there's a vehicle in any part of a neighborhood your paws are touching. So for example, the green monster could toss the news van, but the blue monster can't toss any vehicles because there's none here in this yellow neighborhood. But your paws don't have to be fully within the neighborhood. For example, if the blue monster was here, touching both the green and the gray, because it's touching the green, it can now toss a vehicle with this army jeep. To complete this action, take any vehicle from anywhere within your monster's neighborhood, place it on your monster's head, and then flick it off with your finger. Now you're allowed, and I certainly advise you, to hold on to your monster's body while you do this. You can even tilt it if you want, and then let her go. Hey, that was a pretty good one. Always leave the vehicle wherever it lands unless it goes off of the city board. In that case, put it back on its starting space. Finally is the breath action. To do this, once again, you can hold on to your monster, but either way, you must put your chin on its head, inhale, and then blow. You can't inhale beforehand, and then rest your head and blow. What? Okay, despite my pathetic attempt at a breath action, it truly can be devastating when done properly, so I have some practicing to do. After each of your actions, you're going to check for two things: collateral damage and runaway meeples. So let's start first with collateral damage. This is broken into two parts. First, check to see if you managed to knock down any opponent monsters. If you did, collect a tooth from each of them and then place it behind your screen. This is known as putting it in your monster's stomach. A knocked over monster stays down until the start of its next turn. So until then, you can't knock the monster over a second time and take more of its teeth. When the down player's turn comes around again, they start by placing their monster back up on its paws and continuing their turn as normal. If your opponent knocks your paws out from underneath of you, but you're still standing, then you haven't been knocked down and you don't lose any teeth. At the start of your next turn, just put your monster back on its paws. The second part of collateral damage is checking to see if there are any floors anywhere on the board that have nothing on them. No monsters, meeples, vehicles, or other floors. If so, you immediately claim those floors and place them in your stomach. So looking at the city now, I can collect this floor, this one here on top of the building, because there's no meeple on top of it. There's another building over here with a roof that's empty. I can't take this one, it's got a vehicle on it. And this one here has some meeples lying on it as well. But there's one more right here which I can take. And if when you take away a floor, it exposes another empty floor, you can take that as well. Along with collateral damage, after each action, you need to check for runaway meeples. These are any meeples that are now sitting outside of the city board. They're not touching it in any way. I can see two of them sitting right here. And this is when we need to go over to the runaway board. When using side A, you place the collected meeples one at a time, filling up the meeple spaces starting with the top line. If a line or lines become filled, the current player suffers the negative effects on that row. For example, these two rows tell you to immediately lose a tooth, and then the next player moves your monster to any neighborhood before you continue your turn. These two rows cause you to lose a tooth, but then each other player will get an additional action until your next turn. This line simply causes you to lose 2 teeth. And when you place the last meeple in the last row, the game immediately ends, and all of the players add up their points. Except for the player who placed that last meeple, they automatically lose. The other side of the runaway board is similar, except instead of filling up the spaces sequentially, you do it by color. So we would place the 2 yellow meeples here, and then the green one here. When you fill a row, you take the punishment and then return all of those meeples back to the box so that the row can start filling up again. You can even trigger the same line more than once on the same turn. There are a couple of new symbols here. When you complete this row, you lose a tooth and any one of your cards. On this row, you lose a tooth and return any 4 meeples in your stomach back to the box. But wait a minute, how do we get meeples into our stomach? Well, we're about to find out, because after you take your 2 actions, it's time to chow down. To eat, you need to check and see how many teeth you have. Now, as you've seen, there's lots of different ways to lose your teeth, but you can never lose the 2 that are printed here at the top of your monster's mouth. Add to those any teeth tokens you still have laying down here. So in this case, the blue monster has 5 teeth. You don't add any teeth you've eaten and add it to your stomach. Your monster can now eat as many meeples as you have teeth in your mouth. Which colors you choose are up to you, but the meeples must be touching the neighborhood your monster is currently in, and they can't be supporting any game elements. If you happen to be in more than one neighborhood, like the blue monster that's both in the yellow neighborhood and also touching the gray neighborhood, then you have to pick one of those neighborhoods and only eat meeples from that one. Meeples that are completely on a ruin or sidewalk are not in any neighborhood, so they can't be eaten. This senior is touching the sidewalk, but is also touching the gray neighborhood, so you could eat him. In the same way, this red hero, although it's touching the green neighborhood, is also touching the yellow neighborhood. So if the blue monster decided to eat from the yellow neighborhood, he could collect this one as well. In this case, the blue monster has 5 teeth, so I'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The meeples you eat get placed behind your screen into your stomach. After you've chowed down, your turn's over, and then the next player goes. Now, when the final floor has been gobbled up or knocked out of the city, each other player gets 1 additional turn, and then the game ends. If you're playing side A of the runaway board, the game can also end if you fill up that last row, as we talked about earlier. Now it's time to add up your points. You get 10 points for each complete set of the 6 colored meeples in your stomach. Incomplete sets are worth nothing. So here we're looking at 20 points. Each floor, regardless of its size, gives you 1 point. So here we have 6 points worth. Each tooth you've eaten gives you 2 additional points. So in this case, the players earned 6 points. And finally, you may gain points from your character card, and we'll look at these a little more in just a moment. The player with the most points wins the game. If there's a tie, the tied player who ate the most meeples wins the game instead. Now, one thing we haven't talked about are the character, power, and secret superpower cards. And we don't need to go over those in real detail because the game comes with this very helpful reference sheet that explains each one. You can just keep that at the table. But why don't I show you 2 from each category just to give you an idea of what you can expect. A character card gives your monster a unique way to earn points. For example, the Anarchist gives you 3 points for each set of soldier and journalist you have in your stomach, whereas a mean character scores 10 points if they have eaten more hero meeples than each other monster. Power cards provide you with a unique ability only your monster can do during the game. Before a move action, the climber can be placed on a building, touching your neighborhood, and then flicked from there. The heavyweight can use the Demolish action to target an enemy monster in your neighborhood instead of a building. Finally, we have the secret superpowers. Reveal this card when you want to use it, and then discard it. The catcher lets you place a monster in your neighborhood onto your head and flick it instead of a vehicle when taking the toss a vehicle action. You automatically get a tooth from that monster as well. Invisibility lets you remove your paws and body from the board, and place them in any neighborhood at the start of your next turn. Before we wrap up, let's just go over a couple of extra things. If a floor is ever knocked out of the city and there's still some meeples on it, immediately place them on the runaway board. And then, because the floor is now empty, you can collect it and stick it in your monster's stomach. If you ever need to give an opponent one of your teeth, maybe they knocked you over or used a card on you, and you have no teeth left to give, choose any 2 of the meeples in your stomach and give them to that opponent to put in their stomach. If you need to return a tooth to the box and you don't have any teeth left to give, do the same thing. Take 2 meeples from your stomach and place those in the box instead. Remember, meeples or vehicles completely within ruins or sidewalk can't be eaten or tossed because they aren't part of a specific neighborhood. You might want to try using a blow action instead to get them out of there. Players are free to get up and move around the table to conduct their actions, but just make sure you're seated, even if it's somebody else's seat, before performing an act of destruction. And be careful that when reaching across the table, you don't accidentally cause destruction. If you do mistakenly knock something over, you immediately return a tooth to the box, and any meeples that fell out of the city should be put on the runaway board. Any exposed floors should be returned to the box instead of eaten, and any fallen monster bodies are left in place until their next turn. And that's how you play Rampage. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to put them in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. And I do hope you'll subscribe and continue to follow our series, because in future episodes, we're going to actually play Rampage, so you can really see how this all comes together, and also help us make some of the gameplay decisions. But until then, thanks for watching.